Shalom, my dear friends. Shalom. Today, the 14th day of the month of Shvat of the year 5780, corresponding to the 9th of February of the year 2020. And today we continue with our studies of Kohelet, reaching now chapter 6. And chapter 6 is a continuation of the lengthy discourse that began in chapter 3 after the series of the 28 different times. And in this part of the discourse, Kohelet, King Solomon, has been repeated referring to various kinds of evil that he has seen in the world, where people completely misunderstand their place and their purpose in the world. And this continues in chapter 6. And again, we return in different ways and with different variations on the theme to the futility of those who make this world their primary center of attention, without considering that this world is essentially an avenue to the rewards of the world to come, which are acquired through the practice of the Torah and the mitzvot. And once again, through the we need the insights of our ancient Aramaic Targum Yonatan, the translation into Aramaic of Kohelet, together with the interpretations of Rashi and Metzudat David and the other commentators, to penetrate behind the very opaque expressions of Kohelet. So without further delay now, turning to the Hebrew text of chapter 6 of Kohelet with the different commentaries on it, and let's see that in front of our eyes. Chapter 6, verse 1. Yesh ro'o asher ro'isi tachas hashomesh, v'rabo hi al ha'odom. There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it is very great very grave for the person. And of course, we're already accustomed to the expression of that which is under the sun, namely the material world. And now King Shlomo will elaborate in the ensuing verses what is this evil that he has observed. Verse 2, Ish asher yiten lo ho Elohim osher unechosim v'chovod ואיננו חוסר לנפשו מכל אשר יסעווה, ולא ישליטנו האלוהים לאכול ממנו, כי איש נוכרי יאכלנו, זה הבל וחולי רע הוא. The man that God gives him wealth and possessions and honor and prestige, and is lacking nothing for his soul. He has everything that he might desire, but God will give him no power and control over all of this, to eat of it, because a stranger, an outsider, will eat it. And that is truly the vanity, the same vanity that with which King Shlomo began the whole work. Hevel havolim, vanity or vanities. The choli rahu, it is an evil disease. Well, now Targum Yonatan will help us to understand what is the true evil. Gevar dihavle Ashim b'mazole, a person that the Lord has given to him through his mazal, through his soul, destiny, oiser unichsin, wealth and possessions, v'leisohi mechsa l'nafshei mikol di Yisrael, he lacks nothing for his soul out of all that he could desire. Loi ashlete Hashem al usrei. All of this is fairly straight translation of the Hebrew. God does not give him power and control over his wealth, lemitam minei, to taste of it, Elohein yemus b'loi v'la, but he's going to die without issue, without a child. Here is what the Targum is weaving in that is unstated explicitly in the words of the Hebrew text. Targum introduces that the man ends up childless. V'lo chos al kerive le'achsonusele. And this selfish individual, this selfish wealthy person, does not God gives him does not give an inheritance to his relative. Arum intesei tehei misnasbo legevar chilenoi, but the person's wife is going to get married against his will and possibly her will to a stranger, and that stranger is going to inherit it, and he will eat it all up. All of this, it was the person's sins that caused to him, for he never did anything good out of all this wealth. So his wealth turns to be a vanity and an evil disease. And even the reproof continues, no matter how many children the person may have. In verse 3, in Yolid Gevar Me'o Benin Ushinin Sagin Yeche. We should go back first to the Hebrew text to look at it. Apologize. First, the Hebrew text. Im Yolid Ishmael. If a person will give birth to 100 children, V'shonim Rabois Yichye, he will live for many years. V'rav Sheyu Yemei Shonov, many will be the days of his years. V'nafsho lo sisba min hatovo, but his soul will not have satisfaction from all the goodness. V'gam kevura lo hayasoloi, even wealth, even burial he didn't attain. I said, well, it will be better than him is the nephil, the aborted embryo, before it even saw the light of this world. So here Targum again illuminates the meaning of the verse. In Yolid Gevar Mer Benin Ushinin Sagin Yeche, if a person will give birth to 100 children and will live for many years, V'sholtanusa v'rabanusa hu diyahain yom v'shnoihi, and if the days of his years are all in a situation of authority and power and dominion, but his soul did not have any satisfaction from all of this goodness, all the good that he had. The root of the problem, he had too much love for his wealth. He wanted to keep it all by him, all in his stocks and shares and mansions and properties, etc. He did not acquire out of this money a good name, namely the name of a person that keeps the commandments. Even a burial place he did not have. Amoris ana b'memri the tov menei shalilo delei chazo al mahodein. I said better than him would be the embryo, the aborted embryo that has not seen this world. Going now back to the Hebrew text on verse 4. Kivahevel bo uvachoshech yelech uvachoshech shemoy yechuse, all complete darkness and futility. Yevahevel bo, he came in vanity, this person whose whole destiny was only to acquire wealth without using it for any altruistic purpose. After such a life, he goes in darkness. In darkness shall his name be covered over. And again, the Targum illumines the meaning why all this fate awaits him. The Targum on verse 4, Arum b'havaluso aso ba'olma hodain, because in vanity did he come into this world. In darkness will he go to that world. In darkness shall his name be covered over. Now the explanation in the Targum, which is not given explicitly in the Hebrew text, he has no merit. No good did he ever acquire. That he should ever be remembered. Continuing now in verse 5, back to the Hebrew text. Gam shemesh lo yiro'o v'lo yodo nahas lo zeh mizeh. Even the sun did he not see, nor did he know, neither joy from this or from that. Now, this very obscure verse, the Targum again illumines what is it, the meaning here. Gam shemesh lo yiro'o, he never saw the sun, translates Targum, af nehoir oiroiso lo hamo, the light of the Torah did he never see. That which is above the sun, the radiant shining light of the sun of the Torah, he never saw. V'lo yeda ben tov levish, he did not understand the difference between good and evil. He never learned lemivchan ben olma hodein leolma de'ase, to distinguish between this world and the world to come. That would this meaning that the Targum puts upon our verse would not at all be evident from the Hebrew. Let's go back to the Hebrew to see how obscure the Hebrew actually is. Gam shemesh lo yiro'o, he did not see the sun. Without the Targum, we would not know what this sun is. Since he was in this world, he presumably did see the physical sun, but he never saw the spiritual sun of the Torah. V'lo yoda nachas lo zeh mizeh. Literally, he never knew pleasure or delight for this or from that. This is what the Targum explains to us, that he never understood the difference between this world, the physical world, with so many attractions that would lead us off track away from our spiritual purpose. He never understood that this is the difference between the physical world and the spiritual world of the soul to which we are going. And emphasizing this point now in verse 6, Ve'ilu choyo elef shonim pa'amayim v'toivo lo yiro'o. And even if he lived 1,000 years, twice over, v'toivo lo yiro'o, he never saw anything good in those years of obsession with the material world. Haloi el mokom echod hakol hoylech. Surely everything is all going to one place. Again, Shlomo reminds us that we all are going to go to the pit, to the grave, to death. And here Targum again illumines on verse 6, Ilule havayoyme chayohi de gavro trein alfin shnin. Even if the days of the life of a person were 2,000 years, he did not engage in the Torah, which is the Targum explaining that he saw no good. And continuing, le osik v'dino u'tzidkeso le avad. And justice and righteousness he never performed, he never gave charity, he never did goodness. B'shavuas meimrod Hashem, in accordance with the oath of the word of the Lord, namely the Torah, which is given to Israel and sworn that Israel must keep the Torah. On the day of that person's death, his soul will go down to hell, to Gehenna. To that one place that all of the guilty, all of the sinners go there. In other words, when the Hebrew text says that it all goes to one place, Targum says, well, it's the sinners who all go to one place. Now, the very wise words of verse 7, Kol amal ha'adam lefihu, all of a person's labor is ultimately bottom line for the person's mouth. V'gam ha'nefesh lei simolei, and yet the soul is still not full. The desire, the nefesh, is that part of the soul that would be associated with our worldly ego. We can consume and consume and consume, yet without the higher spiritual path of our lives, the appetite will never be satisfied. Well, now Targum again puts us in the perspective of the Torah outlook. Kol toirach de gavro bedil mezoin pumehu torach. All of a person's exertions are for the sake of the food of that person's mouth, that he is exerting himself. Ve'almeima pumo da Hashem mitizon. And yet, it is through the word of the mouth of the Lord that the person is actually sustained. Ve'af nafsho de enosh lo yisispa mechlo u'mishteyo. And yet the soul of the person will not be satisfied with physical eating and drinking. The simple principle of life in the view of our sages, that a person does not leave the world with even a half of his desires fulfilled. And this is the case if the person devotes their entire life to pursuing the vanity of the material world. Moving now on to verse 8 in the Hebrew text. Ki ma yoser lechochom min aksil, ma leoni yoidea lahaloich neged achayim. Well, this verse is interpreted by the Metzudat David in the following way. What is the advantage that a wise person has over and above the fool, if not that he pays attention to the poor person to know what is that person's need and to revive that person when that poor person is in a state of hunger, in order that that poor person also will be able to go with all of the rest of the living to go on his way. Rashi, in his commentary, looks on verse 8 in a little different manner. He says, what is the advantage of the wise man through his wisdom than if that person were a fool. And what is the lack that the poor person has in relation to the wealthy person if the wealthy person has no satisfaction in life? The poor person also knows how to go in the land with the living. That is to say that even a poor person is able to follow the path of the Torah and the mitzvot according to that person's status and situation. So in what way is the rich person, particularly if the person does not follow the Torah, any superior to the poor person who can also go with all of the true living in the way of the Torah? And the appetite of the person who embraces the physical world would never be satisfied, explains Rashi, but that is to say, this soul will not be filled with the satisfaction of the world to come, because if the person did not perform good deeds in that person's lifetime. So continuing with this very philosophical view of our existence here, we come now to verse 9 in the Hebrew text. Toiv mar'ei einayim mehaloch nefesh. Gam ze hevel u're'us ruach. Better is the sight of the eyes, that which is visible to the eyes, that which is in front of you, rather than the traveling of the soul. And this too is also vanity and the pursuit of the wind. This is all continuing on the theme of the futility of wealth that the owner keeps for his own selfish satisfaction, never use it, never devote it to any good. Here Rashi on this verse explains to us, Tov mara enai mehalach nefesh, better is the what the eyes actually see rather than the traveling of the soul in desire for all kinds of things. Explains Rashi, this individual that embraced eating and drinking in this world, Tov oyov uchshalozeh lir'is oshroi lemare einov mimachal u'mishteh ha'hoilech b'nefesh. It would have been better for that person who squandered his years on eating and drinking if he had seen his true wealth in front of his eyes. That presumably would be the wealth of the Torah he would have acquired had he not been racing after the material world. Better that would have than all of the food and drink that's all gone for the soul. A rather stern second explanation by Rashi on this verse, verse 9, Dover Acher, different explanation, Tov mare enaim mehalach nefesh. Better the sight of the eyes than the traveling of the soul. It would have been even better for this person to it would have been more kosher, more proper for him to go after his eyes and to rob and to oppress, rather than thinking about the destiny of his soul, because he never thought about where exactly his soul would go when he would die. Well, it's hard to... this is also the vanity that is given to the wicked. It's hard to understand why Rashi would say that better would be if this person had done even worse than what he did. I can't quite grasp what Rashi is explaining to us here. Well, the Targum explains this verse in verse 9 in a different direction. Tov legavra lemechti al mad'islei, better for a person to rejoice over what he has, ulemervad tzidkoso, and to perform acts of charity, ulemechame agar tov al oivoda avadoi leyom dino, to see a good reward for his deeds on the day of judgment, leyom dino rabo, the great day of judgment, min diyezele almahahu besiguf nefash, rather than going to that world under the afflictions of the soul. Beramdein legavra chayovo havlu svirus ruho. For all this is what will happen to the sinner. It's all vanity and the breaking of the spirit of the guilty, of the sinner. We're now coming to round up this discussion before Shlomo will launch into the next section of the work in the ensuing chapter, chapter 7. Going back now then to the Hebrew text of these last few verses of our chapter. Mashe hoyo, verse 10, Mashe hoyo kavor nikro shemoy. That which was already was its name called. V'noida asher hu adam, and known that it was a man. Lo yuchal lo din im shetokif mimenu. He cannot struggle and contend with the one that is stronger than he. Verse 10 then, first of all, to go to the Targum on this verse, verse 10. Madahavo ba'olmo ho kvar iskri shmei. That which has been in the world, it already was, its name was called, ve'ish demoida levnei enosho min yoma dahava odom kadmo. It was known to the sons of men from the day that there existed the first man, the original Adam. It is all the decree of the word of the Lord. A human person has no authority, no ability to stand in judgment and contention with the master of the universe, who is simply more powerful than he. Explains Rashi on our verse. Looking now on back on the person that already existed, and in Rashi's view, this is referring to the wicked person who squandered away that person's life with eating and drinking and selfishly clinging to their wealth. Whatever was, its name has already been called. Chashivus ugedulo shehoyasol b'chayo, of all the importance and grandeur that that person had in that person's life. Kvo nikro shemoy, its name has already been called. That is to say, kvo hoyo v'ova yosoloi shem bisroro. Gone, finished. It's already was. It's in the past. He made himself, his name went out as a ruler. V'ato cholaf, now that he's gone to the other world, he's passed away from this world, it's all gone. V'noida shehu adam v'loi el, now that he's died, this great personality, this celebrity, this wealthy, famous person, it's known that he was nothing more than a human. He was not God, not a superstar, nothing but a person of a seifo shemes. In the end, he too died. He will not be able to struggle and contend with the angel of death, who is simply stronger than him. Continuing now with verse 11, as Shlomo draws now to his conclusion, Ki yesh devarim harbe marbim hevel ma yosel adam, For there are many things that multiply futility, multiply the vapor. And what is the advantage of it all for a person? Looking at verse 12 before we go into our commentaries. Ki mi yoidea ma tov le'adam b'chayim mispar yemei chai hevloi. For who knows what is good for a person in his life during the number of the days of his life of vanity, that he should do them. Katzil asher mi yagid la'adam. Life is like a shadow, a passing shadow. Who will tell the person, Ma yihye aharov tachas hashemesh? Who will tell him what will be after him under the sun? Well, now, having said these words, the conclusion of verse 12, who knows what is good for a person in his lifetime, we may take note that in the ensuing chapter, chapter 7, we have a succession of proverbs by King Solomon, each one telling us what is better, what is good, what is better than something else which is worth. Good is a good name than good oil, better to go to the house of mourning, better is the anger of God than the laughter of the wicked, and so on. So, Shlomo, we will be studying these words, God willing, in our next session, but for the moment we can see in verses 11 and 12 that Shlomo is rounding off the previous discussion of chapters 3 through the end of 6. Let us look then at Targum on verses 11 and 12. Arum is piskom in sagin demaskin havolu ba'olmo. There are many, many things that simply multiply vanity in the world. Ma muisa isle gevar de misase behon. What advantage is there to the person that was involved with them? Verse 12. Arum manu de yinda ma yoitiv le'enosha ba'alma hodein. For who is there that knows what will be beneficial to a person in this world? Elohen lemeasak be'oiroiso de'inun chai olmo. Except what other else is there that is beneficial except to engage in the Torah? That means to study and to follow, to practice the Torah. The word me'asak, esek, means to be active, not only intellectually, but with all of one's levels of soul engaged in action with words and thought. De'inun chai almo, these are the life of eternity. V'chol minyan yom chai evloi di yachei be'iden moise inun chashivin be'enoi kitlolo. All of the number of the days of the person's life of vanity that he lived, at the moment of that person's passing, the moment of death, they are all considered equivalent in his eyes at that moment, like a shadow. The man u diachavela enosha, for who is there who could tell to a person what is destined to happen after him, while he's in this world under the sun. It's all a mystery what will be in the future. We can only rely upon the teachings of our prophets, on words, teachings of Torah drawn from prophecy, and with that, we reach the conclusion of today's session. I do apologize for some of the technical difficulties that we have had today. I hope that you have been able to hear and follow this class, and I hope that in the next 15 minutes before the next class, on the beginning of the next hour, I'll be able to sort out these issues With that, my dear friends, I wish you for the moment shalom from the holy city of Jerusalem, and I will be back in just 15 minutes, God willing, with a discussion about Tu B'Shvat coming to us tonight. Shalom for the moment from Yerushalayim.